WWE and the New Day, they have parted ways. So with WWE and New Day parting ways, it was reported that New Day, TKO, well, not even WWE, TKO went to New Day and said they want their contract to be structured, and Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston just basically said no. And that's where you get the whole agree to part ways thing. Now, when it comes to WWE and the New Day, ever since Big E's injury, you can kind of see the writing on the wall. Now, as you guys know with me, you can call me heartless. You can call me, say I don't care about the wrestlers and things like that. But I always have a thing, and I've said this related to sports. It's like, look, you can't keep everybody, and oftentimes that it's just time. It's like you guys have pretty much run your course. And that's how it was with the New Day. You know, they had the heel turn on Big E, which I thought was great about a little over a year ago. Unfortunately, after that, they weren't treated the way they needed to be treated. Their run didn't go the way it should have been. You know, they won the World Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania over the Viking Raiders last year, but nothing really came to it. Nothing was made important. And the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, they essentially became afterthoughts. Me personally, I wasn't thinking about them. Like, you would see them pop up every now and then with Grayson Waller. You would also see Woods go a little viral for his outfits backstage on Raw, but essentially there was nothing else really for the New Day to basically do, especially with losing Big E. It was like, I don't even think a lot of people even remember that New Day were NXT Tag Team Champions at one point a few years back. It's easy to forget. There's not a lot for them to do. The New Day were one of the most decorated trios or / tag teams in WWE history. No matter which combination you got of the New Day, they were successful. They are responsible for some of the best tag team matches of all time. Like I said, they're one of the greatest tag team / trios of all time. I always say this too, like, we have old people syndrome. As we get older, we hold our people we grew up with to heart. For example, for anybody in my era, it's always Hardys, Dudleys, Outlaws, Edge, and Christian. And I've said on the show numerous times, like, look, we might have to take a step back and take off our glasses and put the New Day and these new tag teams up in there, because these newer tag teams, they have a lot more or the same amount of longevity as these other teams, and they've had better performances than a lot of these other teams. Because the New Day's matches, you can put up against any tag team in history and say the New Day's actually been a better tag team and have better matches and better moments than most of the greatest tag teams in wrestling history. And they actually do. You know, I remember when the New Day first started, it seemed like they were destined to fail. I remember when they came out with the church gimmick, and I believe it was late December of 2014 where they were trying to recruit, and then you saw the vignettes. You're like, what's this? And then it ended up being Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, and Big E. And when the group first started, I went to the Royal Rumble in 2015 along with my brother and James, and I was like, this is awful. I really do not know how long this tag team is actually going to last. And they kept going. And what triggered it was the fact that they just embraced the hate instead of trying to making them baby faces. And they would win the tag team titles from Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. And then that's when we got pretty much the birth and popularity of the New Day pretty much began. And then a few months later, I'll go to NXT Brooklyn, the first one in 2015. And then that's where you really saw the popularity of the New Day. Everybody was wearing the booty. I'm not sure if the Bootio shirts was out yet, but everybody was quoting the New Day. I had a video of somebody doing the Big E preaching outside of Barclays Center, and that's where you really saw where New Day actually kind of was actually really over in the company, and they took the ball and ran with it immediately after that. And they also had excellent singles careers. You know, Kofi Kingston, before he was with the New Day, excellent single competitor, also a great tag team wrestler as well, because in wrestling, we always had like these utility guys. You could put them in a tag team with anybody and they would succeed. Kofi Kingston, of course, former tag team champions with Evan Bourne. You might forgot that if you weren't watching in 2011, where Eric Boom R-Truth, he was a tag team champion with CM Punk as well. Kofi Kingston is one of those guys you can actually put in any situation and will actually succeed. And the New Day, saying they gave us amazing moments in tag team history and from an individual success as well. Tag team matches off the top of my head that I think were fantastic were they had the TLC match with the Usos and Lucha Dragons at TLC 15. A forgotten match was with Y2AJ on an episode of Raw Monday on a random Monday night. That was great. Their feud with the Usos, the Hell in a Cell match with the Usos, fantastic. And then you also talked about the singles careers that came out of this, especially for Kofi Kingston, the Kofi Mania moment. And one of Woods' main things in the New Day was that he wanted to get Kofi a world title, and he ended up getting it. And that was one of the biggest moments in wrestling history. Kofi Kingston becoming the champion at WrestleMania 35, defeating Daniel Bryan. And if it wasn't for the New Day, we would not have that moment for Kofi Kingston. Now, the championship reign was lackluster, but we all know how Vince was back at that time with these title reigns that were not his guys. But another great moment, Kofi Kingston. Big E finally won the championship. Big E will win Money in the Bank as a singles, will win the Intercontinental Championship as a singles. And then the moment that I believe he defeated Bobby Lashley for the title, and we were all ready for Big E to be the WWE champion. He got that moment. It was derailed because Roman got sick at day one-ish, the premium live event that was going on, and then that forced him to drop the title to Brock Lesnar. But Big E probably had a lot more left in his championship reign, but we'll never actually know how that was going to end up turning out. But also Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods, I was a big fan of him in TNA as Consequences Creed, and then he came to WWE. I was like, I know that guy. He's really good. Really liked him in TNA. And then I said the New Day thing came up. It's like, not really feeling this, but again, won me over. Xavier was one of the greatest in the mic. Also brought attention to video gaming with Up Up Down Down, one of the first video game channels on YouTube that got really popular. WWE capitalized on that, and they're also trying to bring him back on a deal similar to what they have Tyler Breeze, where they work on socials. But also Xavier Woods, big thing. He won on the King. He was a former King of the Ring winner as well. Never got that big singles title reign like I wish he did. But the New Day did a lot of great things. But when it comes down to it, what else could they do? They've been there for a long time. They were tag team champions a bunch of times. Kofi won the world title. Big E's out. What else could they possibly do? The writing was on the wall a long time ago for the New Day. I hate that this was the way they had to go out over TKO trying to get them to take a pay cut. That's like not a way that you want to hear about anybody going out. But the New Day, they're definitely one of the greatest tag teams and trios of all time. So many memories, so many fun things. Who else would get a unicorn horn over? Who else would get a trombone over? Who else would get Bootios over? Walking around yelling booty, getting that over. New Day, they were fantastic. They could sell anything. They could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. Nice Tommy Boy reference. But New Day will definitely be missed, not forgotten. So many memories, so many moments, so many matches, and you already got to assume that they're going to probably essentially end up at AEW because there's a lot for them to actually do in AEW. And that's the team I will actually watch in AEW because there's so many new things for them to go. And we have to understand here that all these greatest tag teams in wrestling history, they're not lifers in WWE. Kofi Kingston, somebody that we thought might be a lifer in WWE eventually, but unfortunately he's not. We have at a point in time, the Hardys were gone, the Dudleys were gone. The Hardys have been gone on multiple occasions. So New Day is no different than New Day is not better than anybody else, any other tag team that we've had in WWE. They're no different. They had their time. They had their moment. They will be back eventually. We will see them. They will not be forgotten.